Alright, I'm working on the engine here, and we've got A16, but here on B is 16, and that's the part. So just something to think about when you build this kit. That 16 is on B instead of A. Alright, this is where I'm at so far. The kit's going together very well. There's no flash. Parts are, matching up really well. The most of the details in the engine, but everything else went together very well. You can tell this is a newer kit by ICM. I can just tell by the way it's engineered, everything's falling together way better than their older kits. Of note right here, this part here just says J, which is a color, but there was no number on it, but it's B13. So anyway, so let's get moving. All right, here's the kit built up. It went together very well. I recommend this kit. It's definitely a newer tool for ICM. I could tell by their other kit that I built, to the L1500, which there's a video of here on my channel, that it's engineered a lot better. Everything went together way better, to the point where I actually detailed the engine, didn't mind messing with it. Sometimes when you're on these builds, you get frustrated and you're like, okay, forget it. Close up everything and don't even want to mess with it, just finish it. But this one, I enjoyed all of it. Everything about it was really good. There was a couple of things that I broke the handle on the door here, so I made another one out of stretch sprue, and I used stretch sprue for the engine wiring. I got a figure, not a figure, I've got a photo from online showing some of the wiring, but I'm sure a lot of the wiring, it was a fixed up vehicle, and I'm sure a lot of stuff aftermarket they put in there. But anyhow, I just wanted to gizmo it up so you could see the motor and see a little bit of detail in here. I'm going to see a lot once I paint it, but some of the stuff will stand out. Another problem was underneath the wheels go into the suspension. The axles were too long, so I had to trim the axles so everything fit properly, which that's not a big deal. I just didn't understand why the axle was that long. And of course, to show the engine, I had to open up the top of the hood here, and I had to cut the plastic just a little bit, score it and break it. And then the only other problem I had was this stick shift in here. The main stick shift, it was so thin that it just broke when I tried to take it off the sprue. I cut the sprue off just to try to have a better angle and to get the cut on this guy, and I broke it, so I ended up making it out of a piece of wire and gluing the knob back on. But that's pretty much for this build, so let's get on to the diorama now and jump it around. All right, here's the Panzer Art figures, and this guy this one here is holding like a cup, mess tin, and I guess he's supposed to be eating. He's got bread and some other stuff in his one hand, and I didn't like the way it looked, so I carved it out very carefully, and I'm gonna have him holding a map like this. Really good figure. They're petite. I did a review on these, and there was some seam lines on them that I had to clean up. Really petite seam lines. So I did that. And on this figure here, I added a pistol holster, and I didn't like the mess kit that came with it. It was really flat. It was like half the size of this one, so I put this one on. And of course, this time I'm really going to go all out in these figures, and I put a pin on the bottoms to hold them. So that's the figures. I'm kind of jumping around here. I go from build to figures to diorama, so I'm going back and forth. Keep it more interesting. So let's get at it and get moving on the rest of the build. Okay, here's the diorama base so far. I used the trophy type acrylic base that you can get at a craft store, and I call it trophy because it's usually put baseballs in them or footballs or any other memorabilia. They have them at the craft stores, usually in the picture frame sections or whatever, at least in Florida they do. So other than that part of the base, then I made this plastic to go around. It actually is, I still have to glue it to the bottom of the base, so I've got it scored up here, and I'm going to glue it to the bottom there when I'm done, or maybe next. But that was all done, painted. This is painted black, and the styrofoam was cut. I finally got a styrofoam cutter wire, so I was able to cut these shapes out. And then the bricks and the cobblestones were just, I just marked everything out dimension wise and used a pencil to just etch in everything I wanted. And I used a pencil for most of it. I did use X-Acto knife a little bit, but for the most part I used that pencil so I could get these grout lines and everything large so I could put the spackle in later. Right here is just a styrene plastic, and this was just a piece of styrofoam too that I cut. The back is not that detailed, but I do have some detail back here because I think I might want to put a dead tree or two in here to fill this space. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here yet. It's just going to maybe just be painted black. It wasn't tall enough for the building to be a one-story, and not at least for this one, so I just cut it off here. The top of the base ends here. I used acrylic paints to paint the styrofoam. Styrofoam will react to a lot of the harsher thinners for paint, so I used acrylics. Once it was painted, I could spray regular enamels over it without it melting the styrofoam because it gave it a protective coat with the acrylics. For the bricks, I just used a sponge, and I sponged on different red, brown, and red colors on there. And for the cobblestone, I looked up reference of Ukrainian cobblestone roads, and I just picked something, and I've used it here. Once again, it was painted acrylics, and before I even did the detail painting on here, the whole base was just painted dark brown. I just brushed that on. So anyhow, that's the base so far. I'm jumping around from figures to the model to the diorama, but I'm probably going to stay on the diorama now, finish it up, and then I'm going to paint the vehicle and then the figures. So let's get at it. All right, the spackle has been put on for the grout seams in the base here. It's just vinyl spackle, and I just used a brush to put it on, and then afterwards I got a little bit of water here and a paper towel just to wipe off the excess, so it just leaves it in the cracks. And press down into the foam so that with these tires would fit right where I wanted them to. Yeah. So there you go. And then I just put the figures in. So that's pretty much where we're at right now. I think I'll let this spackle dry really well, and I'm gonna start weathering the base, putting it on a wash, and start, using all the techniques that I used to finish this base up. I think I'm gonna print out a poster, find a poster for right here, give it some life, and like I said, I think I want some trees or something. I don't know, I've gotta do something there. But yeah, it's coming together, and I'm just using my imagination and using some reference, and we're getting it done, so let's get at it. So what I've done so far is I made this, I don't know, what do you want to call it, gate, fencing, whatever, on the top of this wall, decorative stuff. This is just a rolled out piece of magic sculpt into a ball that I put up here and glued with super glue. And I made this out of just a piece of strip plastic, drilled some holes in it with my X-Acto knife, put some wires in, and on top, each little, I don't know, what do you want to call this, decorative design ball, whatever, I just made out of a little piece of melted plastic that I have in a bottle, old bottle. I'll show you here. It's just a plastic sprues thrown into an old cement bottle that just had a little bit of the liquid cement, and then what I did is just this mixture, I just barely with a smaller piece of wire touched the tops of those posts, and it just gave it a little bit of like a finished little, I don't know, circle round thing here. So anyhow, that's what I've done so far. I'm still gonna look for a root from a tree, maybe 2 of them, to go back here, because I'm just kind of working as if I was doing it on a canvas, and I was painting and filling in spaces and adding more interest. So that's what I've done so far. I'm going to paint this black to give it some color, and then I'm going to put a wash on here. So let's get started on that. Okay, the wash is on, and as you can see, what a difference. I've always thought that if you can get a good wash that works effectively, that's probably one of the most important things on your model and diorama. It really just changes everything. Look, it looks like it's dirty, worn, weathered, just gives it all the realism. Now, what I do is I put the burnt umber in this little container, and then have the terpenoid, and that way I can either put more or less. So I wanted more on the cobblestones but less on the bricks, because I wanted that white mortar to show through, but yet I wanted some variations in the weathering on the bricks. And then the poster, I just Googled Ukrainian World War II posters, and I got a bunch of stuff, and this is some type of recruitment poster for the SS. So anyway, the wash is on, dried. I've got a few more things I'm going to do to this base. Got a few more tones I need to put in it, some rust on the ironwork here, some mossy green stuff in these corners. I'm going to add a little bit of grass here and on the back, and a tree, hopefully. And I think that's about it, and then some snow in the corners. So let's get at it. All right, it's time to paint the model. What I'm going to do is just go through every step that I'm going to take to paint this guy and weather and finish it. So first I'm going to paint it flat black using Tamiya flat black in a can. Then I'm going to get my airbrush, and I'm going to just put on a coat of Panzer gray here and there. Next will be with the airbrush, I'm going to just use white, and I'm going to give it a scruffy white camouflage appearance. Next, I did the decals. I didn't have what I wanted that came with the kit since I was doing SS. So I ended up having to get decals out of my spare parts box. So they're various manufacturers, but I got some stuff that I liked, and I've got those on there. And once these are dry, I'm going to overspray the whole vehicle with Tester's matte finish. All right, for the next weathering step, I'm going to use a sponge to do the scruffy winter camo. So I did the initial, just a few areas here with some white, but now I'm going to go over with all this scruffiness here from it getting worn away, and I'm going to have to keep working this until I'm pleased with it. And I may have to make this sponge into some smaller pieces to get into some areas that I can't, and then I may even have to use a brush. But that's how this step is going to go, so let's get at it and finish it up. All right, the whitewash scruffiness is on. It's going to really look 100 times better once I do a wash on it with burnt umber. Just using the sponge and some acrylic white paint, and I pressed it into this paper before I put it onto the model to make sure I didn't get too much white on there. The front headlights I painted inside white since I had the white out, and there's one of the covers on there. That's all I'm going to do to that, weather over it. I still need to paint the interior a little bit, the canvas top, and all back here I'm not going to paint because I'm going to fill it up with junk, bed rolls, tarps, equipment, stuff like that. So I'm just going to have to paint the seats and a little bit of the interior, not much. The rest will be weathered. So let's get at it. Got a lot to do, a lot of steps. Well, the windshield glass did not fit, so I had to make some here out of some clear acetate. It's way thinner, so I had to cut 2 pieces out to fit, and it's a quick fix, and it's actually better because this stuff's thinner. So I'm going to put that in now. Okay, we've got so far a lot of weathering done on this vehicle, and you know it's a big process that I take each step and one after the other, and they all combine to the final result. When I get to here, it's usually I'm ready to go to the next project. I'm ready to just say, okay, I know this is going to look okay. I'm going to stop here and go to the next project that I want to see evolve, like this one evolved. So this is when it gets tough for me, but I gotta stay the course and finish it. I've noticed on a lot of vehicles, the bolts on trucks and utility vehicles that are out in the field, a lot of the bolts on the wheels usually rust and get dark instead, and everybody's usually highlighting them. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I just, on this one, I wanted to rust them out a little bit, but I'm gonna, you know, the wheels and the tires are gonna have some dirt on them here. I haven't done yet. Still working in the engine there a little bit, adding a little bit of life to it. So I've got that done. And I've put some grass. I just used some static grass and I've put it around here. I'm gonna end up painting it just with a brush because I'm gonna add snow pretty much where this grass is. So there's gonna be some snow against the wall on the edges, some snow here, probably some here and here. And I still gotta find me a good tree root, so I'm working on that. So other than that, that's where we're at so far. I think I need to finish probably the vehicle up. In here I'm gonna put some aluminum foil. I'm just gonna stuff it in there because I'm gonna pile this up with tarps and gear and stuff. So it's like just to fill the void. That's what I'm gonna use. So that being said, let's get at it and start working on this some more. I mean, I've been working on it a couple of weeks now. Probably about 4 hours a day. So it's a lot of work. If you think you're just gonna throw this stuff together, you don't. And I could have spent even more time on certain steps, but like I said, after a while it gets monotonous. So let's get at finishing it up and continue going. All right, this is a really cool hack, if you want to call it a hack technique. So I've got the Magic Sculpt mixed up here. It's a 2-part epoxy putty. And I've been doing this and it's pretty cool. So I just add a couple drops of acrylic paint. I'm going to add a little black to this because I want it a little darker field gray. All right. And then I just knead it together. And it just takes up the color the same way when you do it in the 2-part clear epoxy resin that you pour for water and things like that. Well, it works for this too. And it just is really cool. It comes out like it's painted. I'm going to use this for tarps. There it is. There it is, and it'll keep this color, and you don't even have to paint it if you didn't want to, but I paint it for the shading and highlighting. All right, back at it. So what I've got done so far is I just painted the grass brown real quick because I'm going to put snow over it. And the reason I did this is I want the look of a little bit of the grass showing through the snow to give it, just give it some idea that there's grass growing there and it's not all just a cobblestone road, that it runs this way. So I painted that brown here and in the back. So that's done really quick. The tarps were all I just highlighted them since they were already the color I wanted. So I put some highlighted shadow in there, painted the gun. I'm gonna tone that silver down a little bit. I pushed the helmets in, so that's done. I painted the box here, and I still got some weathering to do on that. There's a lot of steps. Any of the guys that you're watching their videos out there, you really should support them because they put a lot of work into these things. I would have had this done already, but stopping to make the video and edit video, I work a little bit, video, put the video in the computer, edit it, and then keep moving. It takes a while, so like I said, I'd be done with this already. But it's coming out pretty good. I'm pleased with it so far. I got to paint the helmet there, SS camo. I've got another technique I want to show you later on. I think it's going to be kind of cool. So let's get it. All right, the snow is on, made from baking soda, white glue, PVA glue, I guess you call it, and some alcohol, rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. The one thing you got to be careful when you use this mixture is if you've got some paint on there, like oils or something, that this will absorb into it. And sometimes I've put the snow and the paint or pigments or something, pastels, absorb into it, and you'll see it in the snow. It'll change some colors, but I've got it now where I figured out to keep it very dry where I put it, and it hasn't done it yet. If it does, you can go over it again sometimes and it fixes it. Paint it white and then go over it. I put a lot back here. I wanted some of that grass to show through, but I ended up putting it pretty heavy. I live in Florida, so I don't know too much about snow at all. It doesn't snow here. I've seen it only a few times. So everything I've done here is just from looking at other photos, etc. So if it's not perfect, that's why. But I hope it's effective. And I'm moving along here. It's a lot to do. It's a lot to do. That's all I got to say. But hey, it's worth it. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. And I hope it helps other modelers out there achieve what they want. So anyhow, I guess I'm back to the vehicle now. Got a lot of little details to paint on it still, as you can see, the helmet. And I've got something else I want to show, as I said earlier. So let's get at it. Back to it. All right, to make this autumn SS camouflage Zeblon material here, it's actually something I did a long time ago, and I do it every once in a while. I go on the internet, I find the camouflage image. This one was a Zeblon, and I put it onto a sheet of paper, scaling it in the computer, and printed a whole bunch of them out. And then once it's printed, I spray it with Tester's flat matte spray. Let that dry really, really good, like a day or so. And then I cut it out, and then I just dip it into some water and let it sit in the water for a while, and just put some white glue, a little bit of white glue underneath it. I paint it on, maybe put some onto the model wherever you want to put it, and then I just push it in place, keep pushing it around and just form it into the area, and then the white glue will dry, and then it's set, and it's good to go. You could spray it afterwards with flat finish, whatever you want. But here's another one I just did too, and you want it just to get really soft, but you've got to spray it with the matte finish, or the water starts chipping this off. But it really works out well. I've been thinking about doing decals as well and printing those out, but it's very effective. And I've got the rifle on there now, so we're heading down to where we're almost finished with diorama and vehicle, and then I've got to paint the figures. And I'm going to paint those in oils because I want them to really stand out and look really nice here, so because they're right in the front. So let's finish up. I got to do some weathering on the tires and maybe a few things on the engine. I'm going to just put some washes inside maybe, and I'll be finished with the diorama and vehicle. I still got to dirty up the windshield. Maybe paint the shovel. I got to do some stuff to that shovel, and it's just so many little details that you have to work on, but it's all part of doing it. When you show close-ups in photography, it's not forgiving, so you got to do as best you can, every little detail. So let's get at it. All right, it's been 12 days now since I started working on this. and I'm down to just finishing the figures and a few little tiny things I'm going to do to the diorama, most of the vehicle. So the figures were painted so far in oils. I did an undercoat of a bluish gray, which is this light blue Luftwaffe. I wanted a blue undertone to it. Normally with oils, you want to paint the color underneath what you're going to put over, because the undercoat usually shows through on oils like this. When you spread it so thin, the undercoat goes through. I was okay with undercoat showing through. I worked around that, and the flesh tones came out nice. I'm not a big eye painter. I'd rather have the eyes not painted than them look goofy. So I haven't been doing eyes. Everything else seems to be okay. The oils have dried now. They're still shiny. So when I'm done with all the rest of the detail painting I'm going to do on these, which is going to be now in acrylics, just finished little details on them, I will spray them with a matte finish to get rid of that glossy look. So that being said, let's get it painting these guys, finishing them up, and finish this diorama up. Let's go. All right, I'm calling this one complete. 72 hours put into this. That's a lot of time. 72 hours, 12 days, about 6 hours a day. These things are a lot of work. And you just don't buy a model, slap it together, make a diorama, paint some figures, and boom. I really admire the figure painters like Calvin Tan, who's not only figures are beautiful, but his photography, his presentation, creativity, all that is where it's at too. So it's something that it's a talent. So this one it took me a while. And I enjoyed it until it starts getting to be a little monotonous at the end, and I just want to start the new project. And you start slacking a little bit, your detail's not as good, you rush, things like that. So the whole thing is to keep that stamina. But I finally finished it. I hope that this was kind of a cool idea for the camouflaged pattern Zeblon there, just out of paper. His map that's just printed out. The only other things I did is I used pastels ground down mixed with turpenoid, just put a little bit on the tires there, give a little color. And that is pretty much it. Figures, painted the figures in oils for the most part, and I like the way they came out. Any weathering on them is done with pastels rubbed in, and other than that, it just took a while, and it kind of took the wind out of me a little bit. I really like painting figures, but I like painting one figure. I feel like when I paint one figure, I just really put so much more emphasis in it and the detail, and it's more enjoyable than painting more than one figure. So I'm not complaining, I'm just trying to get myself to get back into things, into a point where I'm more having more fun at painting the figures instead of trying to really get them to look so great. But I'm pretty pleased with it. I really like the bricks and the cobblestone and stuff like that, and the scruffy winter camo on the porch is cool. It was fun to do, and the kit is a nice kit. It was really nice, the ICM kit. And so that being said, it's on to the next project. I may take a little break. I need some rest from this one, but I've got some more stuff. I was picking up a bunch of models, and that's the other thing you get so interested in. I bought a whole bunch of stuff. I have a couple things coming in, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't like having a big stash because it just makes it harder to want to hurry and complete a project so you go to the next one. And I always wanted to just have one at a time, finish it, and when I'm almost finished, order something else, but it's not happening. So anyways, enough complaining, and I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks again for your support. Please comment on any questions you have, and once again, thanks for watching, and continue to stay tuned.